My name is Otar Davitaya. I'm an associate professor at Georgian National University, Seoul. And today I will be talking about the Sustainable Development Goal 16. This lecture is the first out of 3 regarding this goal and will have introductory character. So, introduction to the Sustainable Development Goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. The SDG 16 is absolutely a pivotal cornerstone goal to achieve other 17 goals. It strives for not just infrastructural or physical stability of something, but for the institutional and political environment to be stable. Without it, achievement of other goals, if you ask me, is nearly impossible. So what does SDG 16 aim for? To reduce all forms of violence and related death rates, and abuse, exploitation, trafficking, and all forms of violence against children, promote the rule of law and ensure equal access to justice, sustainably reduce corruption and bribery, develop accountable and transparent institutions, ensure public access to information, and protect fundamental freedoms. In other words, the SDG 16 is about creating a just society. And in my opinion, it's nearly impossible to reach all other goals without having a stable, just society a priori. So, why does it matter? Over 1.5 billion people live in countries affected by conflict, violence, or high levels of crime. In today's world, where Russian and Ukrainian conflict is still going after the invasion of Ukraine by Russian Federation, and the escalations in Middle East, whether it will be Israeli-Iranian conflict or the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah and Hamas, the conflict plays absolutely devastating role for humanity right now, as it always had. So this is why SDG 16 matters. Every year, millions of people die due to the armed conflicts, criminal violence, and state repression. Corruption costs developing countries an estimated $1.26 trillion per year, according to the United Nations. That's more than enough to lift hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. However, it goes through pockets of the corrupt individuals. And it's not only about the developing countries. Even in well-established democracies, threats to rule of law, rising political polarization, and misinformation campaigns show how fragile peace and justice can be. Across the Western democracies, we see the rise of ultra-right, the threats to the rule of law established by so much blood and conflict in the 20th century. It's absolutely pivotal to succeed within the SDG 16 framework. SDG 16 addresses the root causes of instability, inequality, injustice, corruption, and weak institutions. SDG 16 itself has targets, which would be unjust if we didn't discuss them. So what are those targets? For example, significantly reduce all forms of violence and related death rates everywhere, and abuse, exploitation, trafficking, and all forms of violence against and torture of children. Promote the rule of law at the national and international levels and ensure equal access to justice for all. By 2030, significantly reduce illicit financial and arms flows, strengthen the recovery and return of stolen assets, and combat all forms of organized crimes. This target is especially important in the modern world because the terrorist organizations, all these quasi-governmental rebel groups across the world, buy armaments and other resources from unknown sources and use them to seed instability across the globe. 16.5 says, sustainably reduce corruption and bribery in all their forms. Develop effective, accountable, and transparent institutions at all levels, and so on and so forth. For example, by 2030, provide legal identity for all, including birth registrations. What are the means for implementing these goals? Strengthen relevant national institutions, including through international cooperation for building capacity at all levels to prevent violence and combat terrorism and crime. And also, another mean is to promote and enforce non-discriminatory laws and policies for sustainable development. Without these targets, all the other goals, whether it's clean water or environment, is impossible. If money invested for green initiatives gets lost within the corruption chain, or there is a severe inequality within the societies, what's the point for anything else? Or how it will be even achievable. So how SDG 16 works in practice, a global challenge, so to say. Well, let's look at the globe, for example. In Afghanistan, decades of war have disseminated institutions. Even when elections are held, the lack of trust in public institutions are rampant. Corruption prevents true democratic development. In contrast, countries like Denmark or Finland consistently rank as having the lowest corruption levels, show how strong institutions directly relate to combating corruption. Same with the high education standards or trust in government. But even they are not immune to challenges. Disinformation, especially by Russia post the invasion into Ukraine, digital security threats, and growing populism show that maintaining peace and justice is an ongoing task. So, also when discussing the SDG 16, we should discuss it in a view from human rights. SDGs are deeply connected to human rights. The right to life and security given in the Article 3 of Declaration of Human Rights, the right of fair trial, freedom of expression, right to practice in government and free elections are the core rights that are necessary to achieve the SDG 16. Without enforcement of these rights, society becomes unstable, often resulting in conflict and breakdown of democracy. Therefore, implementing SDG 16 also means upholding international human rights instruments and ensuring that no one is left behind, especially marginalized and vulnerable groups. Within Europe, we have a pleasure of having European Court of Human Rights and European Convention for Human Rights. With its minuses or pluses, it works, it implements human rights. Not every continent has the same pleasure that we do. The role of youth and civil society. Peace and justice are not just responsibility of governments. Civil society, including youth activists, NGOs, journalists, and local communities, play a major role. From whistleblowing against corruption to protesting for freedom to organizing conflict resolution programs at the grassroots level. Empowering people to engage in public decision-making and hold institutions accountable is essential for achieving and to progress within the SDG 16. There are challenges, of course. Unfortunately, SDG 16 is considered one of the least funded and most difficult goals to achieve. The COVID-19 pandemic set back progress majorly because it increased domestic violence, delaying justice services, and weakening public trust in some institutions. Also, COVID-19 created this political instability, misinformation, and authoritarian backsliding that worsened in many regions after the COVID pandemic. But there are some signs of hope. Digital tools that increase transparency in public procurement, community-based mediation programs, reducing local violence, legal aid services, and expanding access to justice in underserved regions. What can we say in conclusion? SDG 16 is not just another goal, it's a foundation for sustainable development across the globe. Peace, justice, and strong institutions allow societies to function, to dream, and to build the future they deserve. But achieving it requires collective action, courage, and commitment to fairness and transparency at all levels, whether it's local, national, or global. Without SDG 16, other goals simply won't thrive and won't come to fruition. SDG 16 is an absolute core goal that needs more attention, no doubt. Thank you for your attention. That was all, and my colleague will continue.